Good evening, everyone. My name is Yogesh, and welcome to World Investor Education Week. This is powered by Century Financial, which is a consultant company, and investment consultancy. And we conduct these webinars every week. However, this particular series is something which is really special. We did this last December, and this is a series of 3 to 4 days where we will explain investors that how you can invest, how you can trade using strategies which are not very conventional. Even for those investors who would like to buy and hold or have a growth portfolio, we have something for them as well. So this is going to be a 4 day session. Every day will go for 1 hour, and we'll learn right from the basic of what an asset class is, how many asset classes are available to invest, to a point where we will talk about strategies, we'll talk about charts, we'll talk about fundamentals, we'll talk about a lot of things, and that will be a day on day progress. Uh, Before I proceed, if you can hear me, if you can see my presentation clearly, please give me a yes or a okay using your chat option, so I would know that I'm audible to everyone, because there is a possibility of a network congestion. It happens so many times. So I just want to make sure that a majority of people can hear me. Okay, perfect, great, great. So guys, we used to do a lot of such sessions through seminars, and then pandemic happened. Approximately this time last year we had lockdown, and unfortunately this year is also not looking really good. A lot of people are talking about possibility of another lockdown. We would never know. We hope that this passes too soon. uh, but looking forward, since we are not able to do a seminar where I can where I can see you people, or where I can hear you talking, let's make this chat more interactive. I'll try to answer most of your questions during this chat, and I will go through with my presentation as well. So let's try to make it more interactive. Any questions you have, you can put in the chat, and I'll be able to answer it. I see a lot of people. I'm sorry, I can see a lot of new names, and this is something which is really good, because a lot of investors who attended last time, they continued from day one till day four, and eventually learned the art of investment and trading. So that is something really good. Now, those who have trouble, or have any problem in the network or the connection, or are not able to hear me, or will have to go sometime, don't worry about it. These sessions will be recorded and soon put on our YouTube. It will take time, but then I would really appreciate if you can sit live and ask questions. That adds more value to your time as well. Now, investments, and specifically trading or speculation, these kind of things, they always have a certain risk called market risk. And you have to understand the fact that whatever strategies, whatever portfolios, over these 3 4 days I'm going to share it with you, uh, those trades, calls, those strategies have been built looking at the current market scenario, which is very volatile, which keeps changing. So please do not just follow that portfolio blindly. Look at your investment risk appetite, look at your risk tolerance, see how much money you have, how much money you can afford in case if the portfolio goes down. These kind of things, this is something which you should talk to your financial consultant. You can talk to our experts, and they will guide you before you take any of these portfolios into consideration and use this, right? So once again, please remember this, that there is a lot of risk in the market, and we have to uh, be very careful. Now let me take you through how we are going to do this. This is going to be today's 18th, 19, 20, 21, 22. So we are going to have from 18 to 22nd these sessions. And today we are only going to talk about what kind of products are available, and I'm going to show you how much they can move, what is the product range, how much, what is the specification. Tomorrow we'll talk about how do you place a trade and what are the risks involved, what is margin trading, what is leverage, what is short selling, and how do you manage this kind of risk. Day 3 will talk about market news, fundamental market news, events, how important news, how in news like elections, how news like COVID, pandemic, earning season, retail sales, jobs data, how does these kind of news impacts your portfolio and your trades. Day 4, we are going to be talking about charts, technical analysis, and trading strategies. People pay for these things, and I'm not asking you for a single penny. All I'm asking you is your time and commitment, and we'll go through each and every day, 1.5 hours, and we'll try to learn these individually. You cannot learn everything in one day, so I'm going to break it down to a series of 5 days. Day fifth is when we are going to put this knowledge which we learn in last 4 days, we will put it into use. We'll trade live. You will be allotted one relationship manager after today, and he will provide you a demo account, and you will have a complete understanding of that particular demo account, and you'll be able to trade live in the US market on day 5th. I will also give you growth portfolios, strategies, some strategies which are not very conventional, which are not very traditional. That is something which a lot of investors are doing now. So that is also something which I'll be able to provide you on day 5. What I will not be talking about, or what I will not be discussing about, is any kind of market secrets. I will not be, this is not one of those seminars where I will tell you formulas to get rich quick, or how to get insider information, or are there any technical indicators which are 100% correct, because there is no such thing. There is no such thing as a 100% correct indicator. There is no such thing as a formula to get rich quick. There's no such thing as obtaining insider information, and at least not a legal way to do that. So please beware from those kind of sessions which tells you that we are going to tell you market secrets, or we are going to tell you any kind of formula which will make you rich quick, because there is no such thing as getting rich quick using market information. We have to work hard, we have to make profits, losses, and then we start learning. Now, starting this session, we'll talk about why do we invest at all. There's a small poll which I have conducted. Would love to see your response to this. I have a lot of people here. There's a poll which is on right now. Please, if you can answer this. In case if you don't invest into any of this, just write over the chat option what you invest into, and I'll be more than happy to address that as well. So the question is very simple on the poll. Where do you invest? Stocks, currencies, cryptocurrencies, mutual funds, real estate, bonds, or if there is anything else, you can write on the chat option, and I can definitely address that also, because these are some common investment asset classes these days. Mutual funds, a lot of people talk about mutual funds, a lot of people talk about stocks. ETFs also taken. A gentleman talked about ETF, exchange traded funds. So mutual fund or ETF, please tick the same thing. There is a slight difference, but then oh, there is no. It's not a multiple answers question. So you can write if there is something which you want to add to it. I'll definitely. Okay, insurance, fine. Even if there is insurance, no problem. So that's that. That's good actually. Those who have something which where those people who invest into something else other than this, write over the chat. I'll definitely address that part also. Okay, commodities is something which I have not added into it. So yeah, if you're adding in gold, if you're trading in oil, if you're investing in gold and oil, commodities, anything, please do write. Cryptos, properties, stocks, very good. So I'm getting a lot of answers. I'm getting a lot of answers on the poll. One thing which I definitely don't see people investing into is bonds at all. So okay, that is mindset, no problem. So 16% real estate. Let me end this poll first. So majority of people have invested into stocks, second best currencies and mutual funds, 12% crowd in cryptocurrencies, 16% in real estate. So uh, and of course gold and oil, a lot of people are talking about gold and oil, something which I would have added in the commodities section also. So that is good, guys, that is good. So I'm talking to people who are not very new to the investment bit. Those who invest into real estate, properties, good. Those who are investing into gold, Very good. Those who are only investing into one specific asset class, we will learn over a period of time why diversification is important. So that is really, really good. Now let's talk about the fact. Uh, we'll talk about each of these asset classes individually, and we'll go through their lows and highs and how they move. Okay. First of all, you're investing in all these things. What is the reason why you're investing into it? Why you invest into anything? Write your answers in the chat option. I want to hear it. It could be as simple as anything, one word answer, sentence, whatever you like to say. Why do you invest? Why do you invest in gold or potash or oil or real estate? What is the reason behind you investing? Why don't you keep your money with you? Investments have risk. If you invest into real estate, property price goes down, you lose money. If you invest into gold or stocks, prices go down, you lose money. Okay, I'm getting answers. To earn profit, want to have passive income, to earn, to grow your money, make money. Very good. Why you want to grow your money? Why want you to have that passive income? uh, why won't you want to have maximizing returns? Reason being, because one thing which is very persistent in our lives is inflation, right? Inflation is something which is constant, it is not stopping. And inflation is something which, one answer I got, that funds that sits are diminishing in value and due to inflation, so we need to put them to work. Very good answer. This is something which is a truth. Money which is kept in a bank or kept with you in form of hard cash is losing its value every day. And inflation is something which is called investors nemesis. Now we have to understand that this is something like, in the year 2000, if you had $100, fast forward 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, the value of that $100 would be around $60 or $50. So understand when I say that the risk of not investing is the biggest risk you are facing than investing somewhere else. So this is something which is, the money supply is controlled by the government, by the central bank, and that is something which can always increase or decrease. And while we see the inflation exist, every central bank targets at least 2% inflation, and when they see that there is not enough inflation, they tweak the money supply and the inflation increases. And then again, when they see the inflation is reaching to their target, they tweak the money supply and comes down. So the money supply these days, what is happening these days, when pandemic happened, when COVID happened, a lot of central banks did one thing, and which is called stimulus. They started printing more currency, they started injecting more cash into the economy to make sure that the businesses, they don't get trouble, to make sure that people have enough money in their pockets. Now slowly and gradually, what will happen if the economy starts getting back on track? They will start reducing the money supply. But for now, central bank of US has already talked about that how they want to keep the injection of stimulus keep going on. They want to continue printing more currency because of the possibility of another lockdown or what is happening with the pandemic. So inflation exists, the currency supply increases, more and more currencies are printed, people have more money in their pockets, they demand more, and the value of the currency, it depreciates. You try to imagine this, whichever currency you are following back home, whether it is Indian rupees or Pakistani rupees or Sri Lankan or euro, pound, dollar, anything. Maybe I'll take example of rupees because that is the currency I'm following back home. 10 years ago, 1000 rupees was a big amount. And now when I go home, 1000 rupees is nothing. You cannot buy the same thing. The 1000 rupees is still the same. The denomination is still the same. The point is, you cannot buy enough in that money because the value of 1000 rupees has gone down. So inflation happens, and that is the reason that wherever we invest, we have to make sure that our real return is higher. Real return means, today, tell me, and this is the answer, this is the question to everyone. If you put your money in the bank in your home country, how much is the rate of return you get. Like, for example, if you put money into an Indian saving account or a fixed deposit, how much interest you earn over it. If you're from US, if you're from Europe, if you're from UK, if you're from Lebanon, any part of the world, if you put your money in your home country in the bank, how much is the return? Okay, I get 5%, 7%, 4 to 6%, 5.5%. Now the point is 3.5%, right? So mostly 4 to 5%. Inflation is much higher than these percentage rates, because when you see by the end of the year and start calculating that how much you could buy from one specific currency. So for example, if you put your money in the bank and you get 5%, and if the value of your money falls down by 6%, then it doesn't matter whether you got 5% in your bank account. The value of your money went down by 6%. So basically, your real rate of return is -1, even if you're thinking that you're getting interest in the bank. But the point is that interest is useless because the value of your money is eroding faster than the interest which you're getting. That's why you invest into asset classes which provides you a certain rate of return which is higher than the inflation. So, for example, a stock like Tesla, and I'm just giving you a hypothetical example. Had you invested in Tesla uh, a year ago in 2020, your investments would have gone up by more than 500%. Right now, it doesn't matter how much inflation went up, it did not go up by 500%, but the value of that stock went up by 500%. Of course, investing in those kind of stocks will have risk also, but just understand the example I'm trying to provide. If you put your money in the bank, you would make 5%. If the inflation is 6%, you are negative by 1. But if you put your money into stocks like Tesla or any technology stock back in 2020, your returns would be more than 500% because tech market went up. Some specific stocks went up by more than 400, 500%, right? That is why people invest into different asset classes. Now, these asset classes, again, where do you invest? If you Right now, I asked you a question, where do you invest? You said real estate, bond, stocks, gold, commodities, everything, right? Now, I will show you something called an investment pyramid. Now, investment pyramid tells you why investments in different asset classes is important. Because there are a lot of people who say my expertise is real estate. I only invest into property. I only invest into real estate because I can see something hard. I can see my asset. I want to invest into it. Nothing wrong with it. But then something called diversification is needed, and we'll learn a lot about diversification in the coming few days. So be ready for that. Now, investment pyramid is very simple. It says that you need to have a base for your investments, which means before you invest anywhere, you need to have enough cash, enough terms of an emergency fund. Many of our brothers and sisters, they had to face layoffs, job cuts during the pandemic, which means they had no source of income. It could be, I'm sure you would know a lot of people, or it might have happened with you also, that you had no money left because you had no emergency fund with you, and pandemic happened and all of a sudden you see yourself with no job. So please remember this. Now, if one thing which pandemic taught us was, apart from hygiene, was always have an emergency fund. This is the money which will be used not during rainy days but rainy years, because you never know how long a pandemic can last. You don't know how long an epidemic can last. This is something which is really important. So you need to have emergency cash, emergency fund in your savings account, in your bank accounts. So once you have that requirement sorted, look at this. This is your base of the pyramid. Savings account, keep some money in your bank. Now, once you have that requirement done, check, you move on. You start investing into something which gives you a fixed interest. I just told you that having a fixed interest in any stock, if the inflation is higher, right, then no point of having a fixed interest. because your real rate of return decreases. But look at the investment pyramid. Once you have a base, you have enough cash. Out of that cash, you invest something into an asset class which gives you a fixed rate of interest. Now, okay, there's a question. Is it right the saying that your emergency saving fund should be 3x your salary or 3 times more than your salary? See, it is good, but for this, what we have to do is something called uh, risk tolerance test. What is the risk tolerance test or a risk aptitude test? Where you sit down and answer to the questions like how much is your expense? How many dependents you have in your family, uh, whether you are the sole earning person, do you have any major payments coming in the next quarter, like a house check or something like that? At what age do you want to retire? Is your retirement closer? What is your plan after retirement? Do you want to stay with your current income, or you have a high aspiration like you want to start a restaurant after your retirement? Depending on what are your future aspirations, that's where you have to decide your emergency savings, because it's going to be completely separate. If you are saving 3 times more than your salary, maybe someone is more aspiring, maybe someone is looking forward to open a restaurant later on, right? So this is something which you have to sit and take a risk tolerance test, and I can always send you those questions. These are very common questions, and then this is something which you can decide. Another question is, what are viable option for fixed income in investment horizon? Again, very good question. So somebody asked me a question: what are the viable options for fixed income in investment horizon? Bonds, to start with, gives you a fixed income, something which is called as coupon. Okay, and bonds also come with a maturity date, which means that bond is like a loan. So for example, when you borrow money from a bank, uh, the bank charges you interest, and you borrow money for a certain stipulated time period, that you have to pay this money after 3 years, 4 years, etc., right? And then you pay interest to the bank over it. Imagine having access to a product like that. So a bond is exactly like that, but over here you can give a loan to someone like government, and government will pay you yearly interest called as coupon, and after a stipulated time period you get your money back, given that the government has not defaulted, because this is something which can happen. So as you can see, when we talk about fixed income securities, we are talking specifically about bonds in the investment pyramid. So there are ways that you can invest into bonds with a fixed amount of income which you can get, but at the same time, please remember, there are government bonds, which means you can buy bonds from government, and government will pay you interest. They will use your money for public expenditure, and after a stipulated period of time they will pay your money back, given that the government is strong enough. Because if you had invested into Venezuelan bonds, they defaulted on their coupons. If you had invested into Greek bonds, again, so you have to choose the government also accordingly. Indian government bonds, US government bonds, Japanese government bonds, European bonds. These kind of bonds can be a decent idea. But again, each bond has a bond yield, which means the total expected return. So you have to see what grade they are. Is it a triple A bond? Is it a junk bond? How much risky or less riskier they are? So again, a financial consultant can help you with it. You can definitely have fixed income options also in the investment horizon. Moving on, once you have invested into fixed income products, you move on to this pyramid, and now you start investing into real estate. You start investing into blue chip stocks like MasterCard, Visa, Caterpillar, Boeing, these kind of companies. And also, though, for those who are investing into real estate, you can invest into properties as well. And then the tip of this pyramid, the very top, is where you start investing into futures, commodities like gold, oil. You start doing trading, speculation, right? Now, that particular bit, speculation, gold, oil, everything, is at the tip of the pyramid. Tell me, where in this particular pyramid you receive the lowest return? Lowest return. First, second, third, or fourth? Where do you receive the lowest return? Expected return is lowest in this pyramid. Where exactly? Right in your chat option, guys. And please keep a notebook. I'm keeping a diary with me. I have a habit of writing. I'm sure there will be few points which you would like to write. So please keep it with you. Tell me where you will have the lowest expected return. Okay. Okay. So, okay, perfect. Perfect. A majority of you said fourth, which is the right answer. Some of you have said first, but I understand the reason why you have said first, because speculation exists. So you are thinking that maybe because of speculation, you might not get any return. But guys, let's see. The first answer, the correct answer to this is the lowest return expected is fourth, because you're putting money in your savings account, insurance, cash, where the returns are normally the lowest or fixed. Because if you're investing into a bond, which can be a bond which can have a higher interest than in your savings account. If you keep money in a savings account, interest might not be that much, but you invest into a bond, you might get a decent return. Again, depending upon which bond it is. There are corporate bonds also, government bond also, which might give you a better yield. Those who said second, blue chip stocks or real estate. See, real estate or blue chip stocks, as per the market movement, returns can be high or low. But if you were to compare a savings account and a real estate, obviously the expectation in real estate is much higher. But the point is, in this particular time, so lowest return, but also the risk is lowest. Absolutely. When return low over the time, will lose its value too due to depreciation, again, conversion, inflation rate. So that's the point. If you're investing into, if you're putting money into savings account, your return is low, but your risk is at the lowest. Similarly, if you start putting money into real estate, as compared to a bond, real estate is expensive. As compared to a real estate, sorry, as compared to a bond, real estate is more riskier. As compared to a real estate, commodities are more riskier, right? As compared to a savings account, bond investment is more riskier. So you see this particular pyramid that with every step higher, the returns expected might increase, because if you buy gold or oil, for example, or stocks or real estate, for example, the value might grow exponentially in 1 or 2 years. But if you buy a bond, then you are getting a fixed amount of income. You cannot exceed that return through a bond or a stock. So, but when you see the risk part, risk is much higher. Somebody asked me a question, what is junk bonds? So junk bonds are the bonds which have a very low rating, which are very riskier. So junk itself means garbage, which means investing into a bond which is very high risk. Now, imagine in your mind which are the countries which could be high risk, like countries where there is hyperinflation, like Venezuela, for example. Now, if you buy Venezuelan bonds, which means you are giving money to the government of Venezuela, and Venezuela government will give you a yearly interest, plus they promise you to pay your money after a stipulated period of time. But what happens if the Venezuelan government doesn't have enough money, right? Or Zimbabwe for that matter. So the money which the governments which have hyperinflation or which are not running well, their bonds, when they issue bonds, those bonds come into junk bonds category because they are more riskier. Tell me a bond which is more riskier. Now, just give me the answer to this question. A US government bond will show an investor would expect a higher return if he invests into a US government bond or if he invests into a Venezuelan bond. For example, if I have $100,000 and I put money into Venezuelan bonds and I put same $100,000 into US bonds, as an investor, where will I want to seek higher return? When I invest into Venezuelan bonds or US government bonds? Any answer, guys. Whatever you feel is the right answer. If I am putting $100,000 in a US bond and I am getting 2%, I am getting 2% from Venezuelan bond also, 100,000. Then where will I invest? Now, I will not invest in Venezuelan bonds because of 2%. Because now if I'm putting $100,000 in Venezuelan bonds, I would definitely expect higher return, right? Because the whole point is, if I am investing today, if I have taken money from you, borrowed money from you, and I did not pay you on time, but at the same time, my friend borrowed money from you and he paid you on time. So you know that the interest which I pay you should be higher because I am more riskier as an lender, right? So that is why when people invest, they see the bond yield, and at the same time, you have to understand that if you're investing into a junk bond like Venezuelan bond or a Greek bond, you have to expect higher return. But then the risk will also be higher. Guys, if you can hear me properly, please give me a yes or a okay, because I want to make sure that everybody keeps listening to me. That there is a lot of network congestion which comes across. If you can hear me, keep sending a yes or a okay so I can move on. Okay, great, perfect. Thank you. Now, moving on. Now, we talked about bonds a bit. Now it's time to look about an asset class. What is an asset class? Asset class in itself is when you start investing in these bunch of financial instruments: gold, oil, rice, wheat, sugar. These are financial instruments, but together they sum up one asset class, which is called commodity, right? Now, please shed some light on structured notes also. Definitely. Once, so this is something which is going to be on the last day where we talk about strategies. So we'll move on to structures as well. Till then, I'm sure there are a lot of investors who know a lot already. But since it's an investor education week, so I'm going to go day by day. I would really appreciate in between. Once we are sharing strategies, we'll go to the most advanced level also. So that's why I have to bring everything from the bottom. So when we talk about asset class, gold, oil, rice, wheat, sugar, everybody, all these things sums up to one asset class called commodity. Similarly, when we talk about stocks, whether it is US stock or Indian stocks or emerging market company stocks, everything together is one stocks. Different kind of currencies, euro, pound, dollar, these are financial instruments together, one asset class, which is called forex. Now, when we talk about asset classes, there are a lot of asset classes which are available, few of them which we have heard a lot and we are already investing. So today what we are going to do is discuss about it and see the past historic idea that how it has moved throughout and how we can build strategies, which is something on day 4. Starting with the very first, stocks. Stocks, please remember it. If somebody hears the word equity, stocks, shares, it means the same thing. I mean, there is a technical difference of that a bunch of shares together are known as stocks or something like that. But to make it easier in your life, please remember this. When you hear the term global equity market, global stocks market, global share market, it means the same thing. We are talking about uh, companies. We are talking about these individual companies who want money, who want business partners. So what they do, they issue shares. Now, it's very simple, guys. Shares in itself, today, tell me, and I want to, even if somebody doesn't understand, please write this on the chat. Okay, I think there are going to be few network issues, but no problem. Let's go face through this. Now, tell me one thing. Today, so I'll give you one example and then I'll ask you a question and I'll follow through if you have understood or not. How stocks work. So today, if I think there is a constant. Okay, the network is fine over here. Once again, guys, I'm going to repeat because a lot of you might have lost the network. Uh, the first asset class which you're going to understand today is stocks. Now, stocks, when we talk about uh, companies or stocks, these are individual companies. So let's say today Apple as a company, Apple is a big company, right? I'm sure many of you have iPhones, iPads, MacBook. Apple as a company, when they want to do business, when they want to do business, these kind of companies, they need huge amount. Now, if they borrow money from the bank, what is one thing which they have to pay if they borrow money from the bank? Let's say they need $1 billion to do business. Okay. And if they borrow that $1 billion from the bank, then what is one thing which they have to pay over that $1 billion they borrow? Please write on your chat options. Okay. Okay. Great. Perfect. I hope more people are able to hear this. Perfect. So, interest, right? Everybody has to give interest. Every company has to give interest plus probably a collateral, a borrowing, everything. If a company like Apple borrows $1 billion, they have to pay interest over it. Plus, they are going to use this money for a long period of time, right? Say 10 years or 15 years or 20 years for their business. So if they keep paying X amount of percentage interest over $1 billion year on year, their profitability gets impacted, right? So what they choose? They choose to have more business partners contribute that money. So what they do? They go to say 10 million people, right? They go to 10 million people and they ask for $10. Sorry, they go to 100 million people. Yeah, my zeros got screwed. So they go to 100 million people and they ask for $10. Now, if they go to 100 million people and they ask for $10 from every person, they have their $1 billion ready, correct? Now, this process of Apple going to public and asking 100 million people $10 each so that they can get $1 billion, this is called issuing shares, which means that now Apple will issue its share to every individual, and that share is costing $10. Which means if Apple goes to $100 million, if Apple goes to 100 million people and take $10 from everyone and make them a partner, make them a shareholder, that is what shares means. So today, if each of this company, any company, for example, if you have from having an iPhone to wearing Adidas or Nike, driving a Ford or a Volkswagen, uh, using a product of Unilever, or buying a GoPro or anything, every company has its shares issued. Every multinational, if you're drinking a Coca-Cola, they also have shares. If you are taking a vaccine of Pfizer, even that particular company also has shares. Guys, I see a lot of people sending cannot hear. Let me. Okay, I'm just quickly going to issue a poll so I can. Sorry, just 1 second. How many people can hear me? Yes. No. I'm just going to issue a poll out of this to understand what is the majority of people who can hear me. Um, please answer this. I know I don't want to trouble everyone, but I'm getting a lot of people saying they can't hear. I just want to see the percentage I'm facing. Okay, I think so far it's good. Okay, perfect. So I'll continue because most of the people can hear me. So guys, this is all. Now tell me here. I can try this without headset, but then the voice will echo a lot. So I'm not removing my headset. It's just a network congestion, please. Okay. Now, uh, let's say if we can imagine that when I say I want to invest $50,000 in Facebook, okay, and please have your notebooks with you because this is something which is really important. If I have $50,000 and I want to invest into Facebook, all right, and the current stock price of Facebook is $300 per share. How many shares I will have? If I want to invest $50,000 in Facebook and the current share price of Facebook is $300, then how many shares I will have to buy to invest $50,000? You can use your calculators, guys. You can use your notebooks. I just want to make sure that you understand the concept of shares. I'm doing the same. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So everybody understands the equation. If you want to invest $50,000 and the share price of Facebook is $300, simply means 50,000 divided by 300. You have to buy 166 shares and you invest $50,000. Now, same thing, approximate 167. Yeah, both are the right answers. Now tell me, how much is your profit if the stock value of $300 of Facebook, if it goes to $330? What is your profit? What is your profit if the stock price from 310 goes to 330? From if the stock price goes from 300 to 330. Yes. Okay. Perfect. So those who did 166, 116, approximate 4,900, $5,000. Right? And perfect. So everybody understands this point. $30 up multiplied by the number of shares you have, and that is the amount of profit. Similarly, if the number of shares, if the number of shares you have 167 and instead of 300, if it goes down to 270, you have the same amount of loss. Now, shares have two kinds of income which comes across. One is what you just learned, that from $300, if the stock value goes to 330, then 30 multiplied by the number of shares. Absolutely right. So this is the profit which you make. There is another kind of income which comes from the stock, but not from every, not from any, like not from every stock. It is something which is optional. That kind of income is called dividend. Now, what is dividend? Dividend is a kind of uh, income which is declared in case of US stocks. It is declared quarterly, which means if you have 100 shares of Apple and Apple declared $1 dividend by the end of 3 months, $1 multiplied by 100, you have $100. So it depends company to company whether they declare dividend or not. This is something which we learn in the later stage, that what kind of company declares dividend and what kind of company does not, and why your portfolio needs a mixture of those companies which are declaring dividends and which are not declaring dividends, right? This is something which we are going to learn in the next few days. Now, second asset class to move is commodities. Guys, commodities. Now, once we are done through these asset classes, I'll take you to the live platform and show you some key numbers for all these particular asset classes. Commodity is basically anything which comes within the earth. And I'm talking about, there are a lot of different classes of commodities. Energy based commodities, which are fuel based commodities, and you can invest into this. Crude oil, natural gas, heating oil, the low sulfur gas oil. these kind of gasoline, for example, these kind of energy based commodities you can always buy and sell, right? Second is the agriculture based commodities. Now agriculture based commodities, rice, wheat, sugar, coffee, cocoa, oats, orange juice, these kind of agricultural commodities also are in very much demand. And you'll be surprised to know, because when I asked you about, even for those people who invest into commodities, they said gold and silver. Maybe few of them invest into different metals. But guys, agricultural commodity, you will be surprised to know that every time when a recession has occurred, agricultural commodity have outperformed most of the time, because you might not buy expensive stuff during recession, but you're still going to eat, right? So agricultural commodities is something which also most of the time outperforms during recession. So you need to have a kind of investment, or at least some exposure to agricultural commodities also. After agriculture comes back metals, gold, silver, platinum, which is your precious metal, followed by an industrial metal called copper. And the commodities which you can invest into, again, gold is one of the most important asset in commodities, which is traded, invested, speculated, because gold has a kind of sentimental value attached to it. In weddings, in New Year's, like Chinese New Year, for example, in Indian weddings, in different kinds of weddings, different kinds of festivals, you see the value of gold, the demand for gold increasing. Central bank have gold reserves. So that is why gold becomes one special commodity which is traded, invested a lot of people buy gold now. uh, Tell me, how many of you feel that gold is actually a hedge to inflation, which means if you buy gold and keep it, it can safeguard inflation? Just go for a yes or no, it's okay. I mean, there can be different opinions. How many of you feel that gold can be a very good protection from inflation? Okay, I'm getting answers. Go ahead, guys. Go ahead. Say whatever you feel. Yes or no, both. Okay, I'm going to answer this question by the end of this session. So till then, just remember your answers. You have said, a lot of people said yes, a lot of people said no. And I'll answer you this question. Moving on. Next commodity, Forex. By far one of the heavily traded commodities. The daily volume which is generated in currencies is $6.5 trillion. There has been a significant increase in last 4 or 5 years. We have seen 30 to 40% increase in the global forex market. Currencies by far are one of the heavily traded instruments, but at the same time, please do not. So we'll talk about whether you can take this particular asset class as long term or short term, right? Followed by something called share baskets, and this covers the mutual funds, exchange traded funds, because the concept is very similar. We understood what shares are. We understood shares, stocks means the same thing. These are individual companies, right? Baskets or mutual funds or exchange traded funds, the concept is very simple: clubbing together a bunch of companies related to a specific theme. Tell me one sector among the companies in 2020 which has outperformed every company, which has outperformed every sector. For example, uh, one sector which did not outperform in 2020 was hospitality and airlines, because pandemic was there. So instead of that, which was the sector which outperformed completely in 2020? Okay, I'm getting one, two. Pharma, gaming, technology, e-commerce. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Perfect. Insurance, tech, social media. So if I combine e-commerce, online retail, uh, technology, remote lifestyle, all these combined together becomes technology. Tech sector outperformed. IT outperformed completely. There is no one near. Even healthcare did not perform as great as technology did. Why? because lockdown, people are sitting, watching Netflix, communicating over Zoom, ordering from Amazon or Alibaba or Noon.com, for example, right? Tweeting, using Facebook. So all combined, tech sector outperformed completely. Now imagine, had you invested into one particular stock, such as, for example, Netflix, right? Or if not Netflix, Netflix is not the right example. Let's say, had you invested in Alibaba, one specific stock, right? Alibaba represents e-commerce, right? Had you invested in Alibaba, because Amazon is a very expensive stock, it is $3,000 per share, where Alibaba is 200 something dollar per share. So let's say you invested in Alibaba instead of Amazon. Now, e-commerce sector went up, Amazon went up, but Alibaba shares for some reason came down. There was a lot of news between Jack Ma and Chinese government, and the stock crashed. Now, you did nothing wrong. You invested into the right sector. You invested into the right company, but due to your exposure was only concentrated on one company. That's why, irrespective that the entire sector boomed, your investments are down because your concentration was on one company. That is the risk of investing into one specific asset class or one specific sector. I meet a lot of people and they say, I only invest into Indian markets. I only invest into Pakistani equities. I only invest into Gulf markets or local markets. See, what you do for your domestic country is good. But if you are not investing in global markets and you're not diversifying your portfolio, then that's wrong. Because you might be from India or any part of the world, but when it comes to the biggest e commerce company in the world, it's Amazon. All of you, whichever country you're staying in, using Microsoft operating system, you're still having a Samsung or an iPhone, right? You're still having McDonald's or KFC. You're still traveling through a Boeing plane. You're still using a MasterCard or a Visa. So, whether you want or not, you are exposed to a different US market, right? So, that's why you need to diversify. Now, coming back to the point, why you need to invest into a basket? Because had you invested into an e commerce basket, where some of your money was into Alibaba, some of your money was into Amazon, some of your money was into Jumia Technologies, different other e-commerce, then your investment would not have suffered, because where Alibaba went down, Amazon went up. So you have a diversified exposure. Or let's say you invested into a technology basket where Alibaba, Tesla, Amazon, Netflix, everything is there. So you're exposed to technology and different companies. So you're diversified different company wise. So one company going down cannot affect your investments too much, because you are also invested partially into Amazon and Netflix or Alphabet or Zoom, because you're invested into one basket. So this is what a basket gives you: a bunch of companies together, clubbed into one basket. That basket has a nominal value which goes up or down depending on the performance of all these companies together, right? It can be a renewables energy basket, for example. By the way, renewable energy has also gone up a lot. It has completely outperformed all the sectors. A lot of people have made money investing into renewable energies, clean energy, and that was the reason why companies like Tesla, BYD, Neo, a lot of companies which were investing into clean energy, they also went up. So the now you know that there is a way that you can actually invest into these baskets, which invest your money into different companies but still in the same sector. If you ask me, am I diversified safely? You're still not. But right now, you're in a better condition than you were before when you were invested into one. Somebody said now it is going down, the renewables. Yes, there has been a correction. But then if you see the performance from November till from the beginning of 2020, there has been a significant increase. Yes, there is a lot of correction, but then we'll definitely go through the statistics. Next, guys, we talked about bonds. So what I was discussing about bonds was every bond has an issuer, has a face value, has a coupon. So issuer means if government of US is inviting you or asking money from you and in return they will pay you interest. So US government is the issuer. How there is a stock price, there's a bond price also. So if you have to invest $100,000 in US government bond, nominal price value of a bond will be $100 a bond. So if you have to invest $100,000, 100,000 divided by 100, that many bonds you will have with you. Coupon is the interest which you receive on bonds. It is always set coupon and not interest. So always remember, when you're looking at a bond or you're talking to your financial consultant, you will always would like to hear that how much coupon does a bond pay. So coupon is an important thing to remember. Rating, as I said, is it a junk bond or a triple A or a double B? Like, is it a good bond or a bad rating given to it? Coupon payment frequency, which means how often you receive interest. If you are about to get 5% on one bond, in 1 year, by the end of the year, you will receive 5%, or every 6 months or semi-annually, you will get 2.5, 2.5. Then comes the yield, which is the effective rate of interest. That means how much is the total return expected on the bond at the price at which you bought, the price at which you sold, and the total interest which you have received over it. Why is coupon used in place of interest? Uh, why coupon is used in place of interest? Never went to the specifics, but maybe it's the terminology, because again, the meaning is the same. It is the rate of interest which is paid. Maybe interest is something which is given on a loan, but bond is something which you can buy and sell, and you can receive a certain amount of coupon over it. So that is the difference which is there. But definitely, I think can look over it and explain it to you. Now, I will take you to the live platform and give you some easier and important facts about each of these asset classes I talked about, right? And I will also discuss about cryptocurrencies, and then we'll continue again tomorrow. Is it fixed interest or compound interest? The coupon. So basically, and do bonds always have a lock-in? So I have few questions. I'll answer these. Okay, first, do bonds always have a lock-in? Bonds do not have a lock-in period. In fact, bonds can be callable bonds also, like government which have issued might redeem it back, might call it back. It depends on what kind of bond you have, and you can always buy a bond and sell it at a price. So bonds are not locked. They do have a maturity period, which means if a bond has a 5-year maturity period, which means you will receive interest for 5 years. But on the third year, you see that the bond price is high and you want to sell it and get your money out, you can sell it in the market. But then you will not receive the interest for the next 2 years because you have sold it. So it's not necessary that they will always have a lock-in. You can always buy and sell it. Uh, Coupon gives an assurance. Yes, this is something which is there. Is it fixed interest or compound interest? So this is something which the coupon is always paid on the nominal value. It is not paid on the price. So it's a fixed interest which you receive. Can you please briefly explain a premium relating to a bond? So premium, guys, simply means that if you have bought a bond for $100, so sometimes what happens, the price of the bond is higher. It is trading at a premium. Now, it can be due to any reason. Why would you buy a bond expensive? Why would you buy anything which is expensive? Like if there is a nominal price, but let's say the price is $10 extra, why would you buy it expensive? Because maybe it is giving you a better return, or maybe it is much safer to invest into, right? For the same reason, why there are some bonds which are discounted, which are available at a discount, not at $100 but at 94 or 95. What is the reason behind it? Because maybe they are more riskier as compared to their counterparts. So when you are buying a bond at a premium, there is maybe the expectation from the return is higher, and at the same time, when you are buying a bond at discount, the expectation is that probably the return might be low, so I'm buying it at a discount. So when it is redeemed at a, because most of the bonds are redeemed at their par value. When I say redeemed, which means if the bond matures at the expiry, you will receive, and you will redeem that bond, you will pay back that bond at the par price, at the nominal price, right? Not higher or lower. Okay, what is the risk of a bond? Any chance of default? It can. So somebody asked a very important question: what is the risk in a bond? The risk in a bond is that there are two kinds of bonds, friends. One is government bond, which is issued by US, India, Venezuela, any other government. Another is corporate bond. Governments, sorry, the companies which issue stocks, they also issue bonds as well. So there are, like Boeing, for example, has bonds as well. So a corporate bond is much riskier than a government bond because a company can be easily bankrupt than a government. But then a corporate bond has a higher yield as compared to a government bond, right? So that is something which which a financial consultant can provide you in the portfolio. Capital protected bonds are safe, right? Another question: see, bonds are a kind of capital protected only, given that the government does not default. The right way to say this is bonds are relatively safer investment than stocks, real estate. Okay, the chance of a bond being defaulted is less, given what kind of a country bond you have purchased. If it is a corporate bond, then the chances of that getting defaulted are higher than a government bond. But bond in itself is a safer asset class as compared to stocks, as compared to currencies or commodities or cryptocurrencies. So that is the reason that why a portion of your investment. So today there is a formula called 100 minus age. If there are any people who are 70-year-old or 75-year-old, you have to understand 100 minus age, 100 minus 75, which means 75% of your investment should be into bonds, 20-25% of your investment should be into stocks. Okay, older or closer you get to your retirement age, you should be investing into safer asset classes and not into riskier. Because today, if I am 30, 100 minus 30, 70, which means I can invest into, I can invest 70% of my investment amount into stocks, because tomorrow if stock value goes down and if I lose, I have more time to cover that because I'm currently working. But if I'm a 70-year-old and I invest into Tesla and Tesla goes down, or Coinbase company which goes down, then I don't have enough time to recover that money, right? Because I'm not working anymore. So this is something, yes, capital protected fixed coupons are the safest. If you want to go for you can definitely go for that. Otherwise, and you should go for that. But please, as I said, do not be fixated on one specific asset class. Always diversify more, right? Now, before I leave, I am taking you to the live platform to give you a glimpse of how things have worked out. I think it will take 5-10 more minutes before we continue tomorrow. I'll show you a live platform. Currently, today is Sunday, so markets are not working. But let me zoom this so everybody can see here. Okay, so this is a whole product library. Uh, Now, few things which I would like to tell you about. And tomorrow, first thing you will do is I will tell every relationship manager who has been talking to you, they will provide you a demo account just like this. They will put a dummy account. Tomorrow, we'll learn about how to buy and sell and how to manage your risk. But before that, I'll also explain you how to create a watch list so you can put these important products which these days investors are looking into, and always make sure that you have your buying and selling prices you can see and you can track. Now, a few things I want like you to see in commodities. Important part is precious metals, where you can see gold. I asked you a question. How many of you feel that gold is a good hedge against inflation, right? Now, I'm showing you something. This is a gold price movement. Okay. Let me increase the size of the text. Now, I will take you few years ago, 1 week, and okay. Now you're looking at gold prices from 2011 to 2021. Okay. This graph which you see, these are gold prices. If I have a real account, can we use it in the practice tomorrow? Please do not use your real accounts in the practice. because I'll be doing some transactions. So better to use a demo account. I'll make sure that you get a demo account and you practice in that. Please don't practice in your real accounts. Now, what you're looking at the chart right now, on the top menu, it is mentioned from 2011 to 2021. This is the gold chart. Now, why I asked you this question, that how many of you feel that gold prices might, gold could be a good hedge to inflation? Because if you see from 2013 or 2014 till 2019, gold prices have kind of shown this parallel movement. And after 2019, gold went to 2021. The same height, sorry, gold went in 2021, it has gone above $2,000 per ounce. The same price was around 2011. But had you bought in 2011, you can see that between 2014 till 2019, gold prices have never went back to that level. So when I say a hedge means a kind of protection, that if you have bought gold, then you have protected yourself against inflation. So those who said yes, you need to see this chart, that if you had bought gold in 2011, in 2014 gold prices went down and it remained in a similar range, but not in 2011 range. Look at this. Let me put an arrow to it so I'll be able to quickly show you here. Look at this. Gold prices went down here, right? And it again started going up at this level. But between this, you will see something which is phenomenal. Look at this. Let me make this channel right here. Look at this. What is this right here? This is from 2014 till 2019, is when the gold prices have kind of remained in a very similar range. But between this period, inflation did not stop. It took almost a pandemic in 2020 for the gold prices to go back to 2011 levels, right? So buying gold for a longer period of time may not be a good idea, because gold reacts to political movements, economical policies, political policies, structural shifts, everything. Pandemics, Brexits, US elections, everything. So it may not be the right hedge to inflation. So you have to understand that gold can be a good speculative asset. You can buy and sell in your trading account. But when it comes to long-term investment, imagine had you invested in 2011, you have to wait till 10 years till the gold go back to the same level, right? So for those 10 years, your money is just blocked. It is not increasing in its value. Same thing, somebody asked about oil. Oil is exactly the same. It's a geopolitical commodity. 2014, due to Syrian civil war, uh, oil prices went to $145 per barrel. And the same oil back in 2016, it was around $27 per barrel. And that oil last year in April, this time, was $0 per barrel. And right now it is around $55 to $60 per barrel. This is not something which is going to give you a protection against inflation, because these kind of commodities are very much impacted by geopolitics, economic policies, interest rates, everything, right? So they are very volatile in nature. Today, if you think I'm going to buy oil and keep it for 1 year and make money over it, that's not the right thing to do. If you have faith in gold or oil, I would suggest go with those companies. You have faith in oil, then buy British Petroleum, buy ExxonMobil, buy Total, because these are oil companies which gives you dividends. You can earn an income over those companies, right? And they are not as fluctuating as the real commodity, because oil went negative, but British Petroleum or ExxonMobil did not go negative, because these are companies, they work on a cash flow, right? So again, there are a lot of things. There's a straight question, what would I recommend to invest in today? The answer to this question, once we understand all the asset class, definitely by the end of day 4, I'll give out portfolios and a lot of strategies how you can do it. Okay, so just wait till day 4 and we'll definitely go with this. So this was about gold. Very quickly, just one more thing I want to show you before we leave. Something about NASDAQ, a stock market index. Now, a stock market index is something, a similar concept, right? Just want to show you 2020. I think this was 2020, yeah. Stock market index, guys, it's a very known concept. Index gives you a hypothetical representation of a bunch of companies. So for example, if I say US NASDAQ 100, okay, US NASDAQ 100 means a stock market index which is tracking 100 companies of US, and most of these companies are technology companies. So when I say S&P 500, tell me on the chat option, if I say US S&P 500, how many companies this index is tracking? Use your chat option, guys. If I say S&P 500, this is a US stock market index which is tracking X number of companies. How many number of companies it is tracking? S&P 500. Perfect. 500 companies, right? 500 companies. That means there are 500 companies which are in this index. So when you're putting your money into this index and buying it, automatically your money is distributed into 500 such companies. So if one company goes down, your investment does not get hugely impacted because you're investing to 500. The index which I'm showing it to you is NASDAQ 100. These are 100 companies. 100 companies. Now there is a fall in 2020 NASDAQ, which you can directly see it here. And let me show you, had you invested last year in March 2020, 6,700 was the price of NASDAQ 1 unit, index. April 2021, it is almost 14,000. From 6,800 to 14,000. This is 100% return in last 1 year. 100% return. Just please understand what I'm telling you. If you have not done anything, you did not hire a fund manager, you did not scrutinize funds, paid extra money for research, anything. This is 1 year. This is, the chart is a 2-year scale, but I'm telling you 1 year movement of NASDAQ. Last March 2020, NASDAQ was $7,000 for 1 unit. Same NASDAQ is now $14,000 1 unit, which means 100% return in 1 year just by buying index, which is already distributing your money into different companies, right? So that's why you have to diversify. Not necessary that this year will be the same, but that is why you diversify. That if this index doesn't work, maybe German index, Italian index, French, UK, there are so many global indices where you can invest into. So over a period of days, we'll learn through this. How about same 10-year scales like gold? I just showed you. Gold was 10 years ago. Gold in 2011 was $2,000 or $1,900 per ounce. Okay. In the same 10 years, gold right now is $1,776 per ounce. What does it tell you? It tells you like within 10 years, the gold has gone down and has come up to the same level where even slightly less than what it was in 2011, right? It has gone up. So let me show you this chart of gold right here. Look at this. If you see here clearly, I'll make a point over here. 10 years ago, 2011, gold price was 1,921. August, July, May, April. 10 years ago in April, it was $1,531. Okay. And today, it is 1,775. How much? Just $200 per ounce more. Hardly 10% of movement. But before that 10% of movement, it has already gone down to $1,000, right? Which means you're almost 10%. And when you see 10-year growth of NASDAQ, now if you see 10 years growth of NASDAQ, because these are equities we are talking about. So let's go back 2011. 2011 Nasdaq was 2,600 and now it is 14,000, right? So you understand that this is a next generation trading platform based by CMC. So this is the demo account which you will receive. So you can always try that. So this is what I mean to say. In 10 years, Nasdaq from 2,500 went to 14,000, right? But at the same time, gold went up just 10%, 12%. Because it's a bit, if you see day on day trading instrument, gold is the best along with the indices, right? So guys, once again, we'll continue this entire session tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll learn something new. Okay, before you leave, on behalf of Century Financial, my team, myself and my family, a big vote of thanks to all of you. uh, Anyone who's into the medical facility, healthcare sector, or have friends or families who are working as doctors, thank you so much on behalf of my team and my family and myself. I have recently recovered from COVID, so I understand it's one of the most dangerous diseases we have. And the people who are out there risking their lives for us, a big round of applause for them. So if you have any friends and families or you yourself are working, a big vote of thanks from my end and from my team. I could not be enough grateful. This is a tough time for all of us. Um, we really need to make sure that we don't go out unless it is really needed. And please wear your mask, take a very good care of yourself, have enough water, have orange juice, and keep investing. We'll start this tomorrow again, same time. And meanwhile, I'll ask the relationship managers to reach you out, and they will give you the demo accounts first thing tomorrow in the morning. And when we meet, keep your demo accounts open. So whatever trades we do, whichever way we do, you'll be able to learn live and create watch list with me. My name is Yogesh. Thank you so much for attending this day one. I'll see you day two tomorrow, and I hope it is equally productive as today was. Take care.